Murtuza, Murtuza, can you start now?
Yes, ready.
Okay, okay. So,
Murtuza, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chetan bhai. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Swapnil, you can start now.
Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to the 12th session of the 14th session of the Vocal for Local. Today we have with us our learned friend, Mr. Murtuza Kachwala. He has been the secretary of the WIRC of ICAI, and we are very privileged to have him over here. He's a Thanekar himself now, so it's a great pleasure to have him as a speaker at this platform. Without any further ado, I request the chairman of the Thane branch to take over and speak a few words.
Thank you, Sri Swapnil Kolte, respected participant and my colleague in Thane branch. Good evening to all and everyone. I, on behalf of Thane branch, welcome you all in this first ever Vocal for Local Speaker series, season 2. Last year we have done 12 series. Now this year we have decided to make it season 2, and accordingly this will be the first ever series. And today we have our very own and my dear friend RCM Murtuza Kachwala as a speaker. We team Thane branch are extremely delighted to have Murtuza sir and all participants in this seminar. Today Murtuza sir will deal with new generation audit tool and techniques. Formal introduction will be given by our very own and down-to-earth Vikasa chairman, recently re-elected as MCM of Thane branch, CA Rajnish Sharma, from a while from now. Congratulations, Rajnish. You have won even second prize for regional level for Thane Vikasa. Coming back to today's seminar, my personal take is that looking at voluminous work and risk involved in typical audit work, we as auditor does not have any choice but to adapt new generation audit tool and techniques. Anyway, Murtuza sir will deal with the subject in great details for the benefit of all of us. If I am not wrong, this is the first seminar of Murtuza sir on Thane branch platform, truly satisfying our theme of Vocal for Local Speaker series. Now, announcement. Tomorrow we have very important CP seminar, and speaker is again our very own CA Anil Bhandari on how to 10x your practice. Respected member, today's seminar will be interactive. If you have any question, either you raise your hand or please feel free to ask through chat box only. One more thing, your Zoom name should be your membership number followed by your name. Please do not blame us if we cannot upload your CP credit due to non-availability of membership number. Now I request CA Rajnish Sharma to formally introduce our today's speaker, Murtuza sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce CA Murtuza Kachwala sir. CA Murtuza sir is a fellow chartered accountant from 1994 batch. He is also a cost and management accountant, certified internal auditor, ISO 27001 lead auditor, certified information systems auditor as well. He is a regional council member of WIRC of ICI 2019-22 and also re-elected as regional council member of WIRC of ICI for 2022 to 2025 and likely to be chairman of WIRC for 2022-23. Congratulations, sir. He is the chairman of Internal Audit Committee at WIRC and Committee of Members in Industry, Entrepreneurship and Public Service for 2021-22. Currently, Murtuza sir is also a managing director with Protiviti and heads the risk and consulting and internal audit practice for Western India for Protiviti. In the past, he has worked in organizations like Mitsui OSK Lines, Hinduja Group, Vodafone, and in consulting firms like AF Ferguson and Company and Protiviti at various levels. Murtuza sir has been invited as a regular speaker of various forums and as a panelist on a variety of subjects. He occasionally writes in magazines, journals, and other publications too. I request Murtuza sir to take over the session and enlighten us upon the subject. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon to all. Thank you, Rajnish bhai, for such a nice introduction.
Thank you, sir.
Let me first thank my dear friend and chairman of Thana branch, Asawaji, all the committee members, Chetan Chadwa, Yogesh Prasad ji also I saw, his past chairman. Rajneesh bhai, congratulations for winning the second best Vikasa.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent work done by Thana Vikasa throughout the year. I also was just glancing through. So let me recognize presence of Anil Chikodi, past chairman of Kolhapur branch. I think Shafiq Qureshi also, who is recently elected at Jamnagar branch. And I also saw Uday Bapat, my dear friend and also a senior and mentor and guide. And all of you friends. So rightly said, I am also a Thanekar. And I've been now staying in Thane for last 2.5 years. And I think, yes, this is the first of my lecture at the Thane branch. So thank you for giving this opportunity. While I was speaking to Asawaji yesterday and today, from the topic which was circulated, I have made a little change. And I'm saying like, why the tools and technique only for audit and why not for other consulting and other assignments as well? So there will be a lot of opportunities which will come across. So we'll talk about various opportunities and of course we'll cover the audit part as well. And we'll be talking about various tools, a lot of them. And I'm sure each one will be able to pick up something and then do some extra course or do some hands-on and start using it in the day-to-day life. Now for easy understanding, I am trying to take a procure to pay process. Procurement, almost everyone knows procurement, and whether we are doing tax audit for a proprietor, partnership, private limited, we run through the procurement process in bits and pieces somewhere. So I thought, let me take the procurement as a base. Let us understand the process, then see what is happening currently today. And then we see how do we use the data analytics and other tools in this procurement. So at least one process end to end we see and we understand the practical implementation. So friends, like agreed, during the with Asawaji, during the course of the presentation, I'll stop at least 2 to 3 times. After about 25-30 minutes, take your inputs if there are any, answer your questions, move to the second phase and then the third phase. So wherever there are any questions, please keep typing into the chat box, and we'll not keep everything for the end because at times last में फिर वो time नहीं रहता है और वो रह जाता है. So let us keep on answering as many as possible. That is what we'll try to do. So with that, let me now share my presentation and we can get started. Can you see the presentation?
Screen share करो sir.
1 minute.
Share your screen.
Okay. Share screen. Yes. अभी ठीक है? And let me put it in presentation form. Okay.
Yes, Murtuza bhai, go ahead.
Okay, great. So I have said consulting opportunity using a next generation tools and technique. See, most of us, many of our clients generally use Tally, but these days some clients have also started using Zoho and some other tools. And if there are a little larger clients or if you are working with corporates, I don't know how many are from industry. Maybe some of us are also using SAP and Oracle. So I thought like, let me take SAP, Oracle, then I'll again touch back to Zoho and Tally also. Okay, like what are the things which can be done automatically by software? What risk, what controls, what type of analytics can be done by the softwares? And then what additional can we do in an procure to pay? So see, possibly the procurement process starts from a sales budget. and basis the sales budget, month on month, if the sales budget is prepared for those particular items, production budget will be prepared month-wise. And then basis that, what is the stock, what is the reorder level, how much stock is required, a purchase budget will be prepared, and then the purchase budget versus actual tracking will have to be done. But when we look at the procure to pay, one is it starts with like a purchase order being issued on a vendor. But even before you issue a purchase order to a vendor, at times for capital and large purchases, 3 quotations and comparative statements are required. And if there are large, then maybe a request for proposal, RFP, or a request for quotation, or a tender, as we call, will have to be invited. Now this RFP, RFQ response to that, the technical and commercial proposals can either come to a person on mail, or it can come into a hard copy into a box. And then there could be a purchase committee who opens everything, checks all the quotation, and decides which is the best party. And at times, like the procurement team in an organization, on a regular basis keeps on identifying जो purchase company करती है उसके लिए how many vendors are there, and at least 3, 4, 5 vendors for any type of purchase, be it security guard, be it car hire, be it purchase of stationery, or be it purchase of a particular raw material or fuel or whatever. Multiple vendors are identified and they are registered. So I think the vendor master becomes important. And as we go through and as we talk through the whole process today, see, how do we capture the data is very important. If you want to do data analytics, if you want to do meaning, if you want to like do automation, how do you capture data? And that is where I think the masters become important. Vendor master, customer master, employee master, bank master. And what happens these days is, like even opportunity, like online, the vendors can submit the documents. So a vendor code is created by the master data management team in the IT, which sits within the IT. And maybe then the details are given to the vendor, and the vendor uploads all the information, and then like master for the vendor is created in terms of what products or services he will deal in. Then like what is the rate of GST, his bank account details, vendor's bank account details, and X and Y and Z. So vendor master comes into play. And once the vendor, multiple vendors are available in the master, and someone wants to raise a purchase order, then like the moment purchase order is raised, again it goes and checks whether there is a budget or not, and it will knock off against the budget. And if the budget is exceeding, then maybe the purchase order will not be issued. So there can be one control there. Now, who can issue how much purchase orders? So like in a particular department, or in every organization, there is something called as a delegation of authority matrix, that a particular person at a level can maybe issue a purchase order up to 50,000. A person beyond that from 50,000 to 5 lakh, and someone above that from 5 lakh to 25 lakhs, and maybe the CEO so much and the audit committee so much. Different type of amounts will be fixed. But there is also something which is called as, and there's a lot of terms which we would have used, and I'm trying to touch upon those terms, and I'll take 10 minutes on this slide on the procure to pay process, because this is a foundation which will help us during the whole discussion today. So please have patience. I'm talking about some basic stuff, but give me 10 minutes for that. See, one is like there has to be a maker checker control. And what is a maker checker control? Means like, see, if I raise a purchase order, maybe it will go to my reporting manager, or it will go to the department head, and he will also approve whether whatever purchase order I have raised is correct or not, on the right type of vendor for the right quantity. So this double check ensures that you are not purchasing excess. You are not purchasing at a high price. You are not purchasing from a vendor who is blacklisted or from whom you don't need to purchase. So there is this maker and checker control. Okay. At the stage of purchase order also, then the purchase order quantity being checked with the budget. So again, that is one inbuilt control which is there. even before purchase order, purchase requisition is required. Who wants it? So the user department has to raise a purchase requisition. And if someone raises a purchase requisition for like say 10,000 unit of a particular raw material or component, then maybe that person should also have access to the stock data to see कि like stock में कितना already available है that component or raw material. And assuming the production cycle for the next 3 months needs 15,000 and you already have 10,000 in place, then you look at the reorder level and then accordingly decide the quantity which is required to be ordered, and that. So a lot of these concepts like reorder level, the economical order quantity, etc. comes into play when there is an ERP type of a software. Now friends, at times, what happens is, and there are a lot of risk which happens. What are the risk in procurement? A risk in procurement is someone buying excess material or someone buying unwanted material. Now that excess or unwanted material can be stopped by having a budget, ensuring that the right 3 quotations are invited, approval is taken, there is a maker checker control. So like those type of controls are there. Purchase at a high price. At a high price again could be controlled by taking 3 quotations, doing a comparative and ensuring that you are purchasing at the right price. Now there is something called as a split PO. So what happens is, assuming I am in a organization's purchase department and maybe Asavaji is my friend and he is a vendor, and my limit to purchase was only 5 lakh rupees, and above 5 lakh then it will go to my reporting manager or to the CFO, and I wanted to place an order of 15 lakh rupees. If it goes to my CFO, he may not approve purchase from Asavaji, and hence what I do is I raise purchase order for 4,75,000. After 2-3 days, again 4,75,000, and then again 4 lakh rupees, and then that way. So I split it into 4. Now, if I do that, how do you stop that? Now, to stop that, what will happen is, or to check whether something like that has happened in an organization or not, you could do analytics, or the software can also give you data where the same user is raising purchase order on the same vendor. All those cases will be picked up. They will be compared with the authority metrics table, that my authority metrics table says 5 lakhs and I have raised between 4 lakhs to 5 lakh rupees in the last 2 months and on the same vendor. And when I club that, it goes above my limit. So those are type of things which can be caught, which normally in a normal audit is difficult. Now, some of these ERPs can give you ready-made report, or otherwise you have to do data analytics to find these type of things. So this was one example. Now let me go ahead a little also, that after purchase, what happens? Where does the material get delivered? Then like who approves the quality check? So in the ERPs now, like for services also quality check or receipting of service happens, or for receipt of goods a GRN happens, so the quantity gets checked. But even before GRN is prepared, someone has to check the quality of the goods, and there could be a material review note or whatever it is, MRN or whatever it is, will have to be checked and prepared. Quality review note or whatever it is. Different names can be given. So quality check will have to be done by an independent party. The GRN will be prepared by the warehouse keeper, and then only the invoices will come for payment. And where does the invoice go? The invoice can go for payment to the finance team or to the payments team. It did not go to the procurement team or to the warehousing guy. But when we look at an SAP type of thing, there are so many different type of controls which are built in. 3-way match. Okay, so like matching of the purchase invoice quantity with the GRN quantity, then matching the GRN quantity with the PO quantity, matching the rate on the invoice with the PO. So all of these matches happen and then the invoice can be processed. So these are there inbuilt into the ERPs. Let me move ahead to the next slide. So here, maybe if payment is made without preparing GRN, invoice comes, is it possible? So you could bid a control, and in ERP there are control that only after GRN is prepared and the quality is prepared, if the quality is activated, then only invoice can be processed and then only payment can be made. So you could stop payment. Otherwise, what could happen is invoice can come, material is not delivered, and the payment can go. So that control is also built in. And there are a lot of different type of controls. So like quantity reconciliation at various level. Then like in delivery, assuming you raise a purchase of 10,000 items, and if it is a fuel which can evaporate, then you could also have a like plus 5 or 10% plus or minus delivery tolerance. So those are type of things which can also be built inside. Okay, let me move ahead a little. In an SAP or an ERP, there are multiple vendors. So like if you want to buy a mouse, and if there are 3 vendors who are selling mouse to you, and if the price or the rate is there in the master, then the rate comparison can be done. And if you want to like make any variations, and like you want to make a blanket purchase order where you say like with a certain variation the purchase orders can be released, that also is possible, that also can be done now. So there are multiple type of things. Some of the ERPs also help you in identifying the duplicate payments, but while doing analytics also we'll be able to do it. Let me go ahead a little to some of the controls in Oracle, and then maybe I'll again try to summarize and close a few things here. In Oracle, there is something called as a carting also. While you want to purchase, you can even go and to the public domain and you can check the suppliers, etc. In Oracle and some of the ERP, there is something called as a blanket PO also. अगर कोई particular raw material आपको month on month purchase करना है, तो आप system में configure कर दोगे कि every month first को 5,000 unit के लिए on a particular vendor the purchase order has to be issued and it will go automatically, it will be issued. So those are type of things which can also be done. Okay. Of course, some of the ERPs also allow you to float the RFP, getting the responses, etc., and all of those. In fact, a lot of these are available in Zoho as well. And when we talk about Tally, I think in Tally also, the rate comparison of the vendors can be done. 3-way matching is also now possible in Tally, like checking the invoice quantity with the GRN quantity and with the PO quantity and things like that and matching it. But wherever this is not available in the software which the client is using, then there will be various analytics which we'll have to do as auditors. And as we progress ahead, we'll talk about those analytics as well. See, in an procure to pay, and we can talk about multiple processes. We can talk about capitalization, fixed asset. We can talk about order to cash. We can talk about discounts and rebates. And in everything, there are a lot of gaps. There could be control weaknesses. There could be risk. The risks or issues which can be sorted using a good solution or software or using analytics, you can identify. So the like in the procure to pay, the important is like from where do you source, who are the vendors, whether you purchase the right item, whether you purchase the right price. Then when you go to the receiving, then like whether the quality is good, it is not a substandard material. And if you order 1,000 quantity, no one is dumping 2,000 on you. So that is also done there. And you also ensure that the material is received before you make the payment. When you talk about vendor collaboration, तो vendor के पास से कितना purchase कर रहे हैं, अगर bulk purchase कर रहे हैं तो whether he is going to give you discount, credit terms, is the vendor helping you in some other thing? If the vendor is not providing you the right type of material, then are you blacklisting, etc. And then invoice and payment. In invoice, what is happening? The invoices come, someone punches in, purchase account debit to vendor. Then like uska, what is the credit period someone has to maintain somewhere. Then if the credit period is 60 days, but the payment is made in 10 days, there is an interest loss. There could also be the payment clerk makes the payment early and maybe takes bribe from the vendor. So there are multiple of those risks. But various softwares and various solutions are helping you in automating the invoice processing and the punching and scanning, so that accounting can be done and the payment can be done automatically. And how the process has moved, that we'll see now as as we proceed ahead. So when we look at procure to pay, again, different type, like, but the most important thing is we are going to look at three things. What is the process, the people involved with the train, and what is the technology that you're using to ensure that cost-effective purchases are done at the right time. Now, let me come to the first slide after giving this base. Okay, like how the whole procurement process is changing today in large organizations, and what are the various automations or tools or techniques which are being used. Let us look at that. Then we will proceed ahead slowly. And in some time, we'll stop somewhere to take few of your questions. So friends, as we were seeing the procure to pay process, now here, when I look at the first on my left hand side, sourcing and contracting. So sourcing and contracting, there is a purchase department. In an organization, someone may want to buy a mouse, someone may want to buy a laptop, someone may want to buy mobiles, and there are different raw materials, there are different fuels, there are different services, etc., which are required to be purchased. And in a purchase department, there are a lot of people who are sitting there and who keep on identifying for each product and service 3, 4, 5 vendors and getting the documents, getting the price, doing a comparison, etc. Now what has happened is a lot of these market research can be done by bots automatically. Okay, and let me give you one example. So like say, I want to buy a data connection in my house, the data, and I want to look at different plans of Tata Sky, or maybe a local cable operator, or maybe Airtel, or maybe Vodafone and X and Y. So what I do is normally go to Google, search all the plans, look for, what do I look for? How many, what is the like speed that I want? How many GB or MB? Then like for how much period, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months? And then accordingly, what is the price? So all of these features are required to be pulled out, and then the plan is to be pulled out. Then you need to type into Excel and compare. Now what people are doing is, like say Tata Sky wants to find out like what plan the competitor is launching so that they can also give a competing plan or product. They put up bots, and these the crawlers go onto the Google, search for different keywords, pull out the data, and it can put into an Excel, prepare a comparison and give it to you automatically. So web crawlers are being used for multiple things, and mostly to identify the competition, what competition is doing. Okay, and in anything, a real estate construction guy can even put up, if he wants to find out in Koperkerne how many construction projects are going on, then you can put a web crawler on the web. You can code something and leave it onto the web in the public space to say residential projects in Koperkerne by builders and with so many flats, and it will search for all of those data in the public domain, pull out all the data and push it into your mailbox, or it will pick out certain things, put it into an Excel and give it to you. So web crawlers are being used on an extensive basis for doing market research. Similarly, there are systems like Ariba. When you talk about 3 quotations and comparative statement, abhi reverse bidding hota hai. Matlab, if someone wants to give an audit, an internal audit assignment, or Reliant wants to give an internal audit assignment, they can use a system like Ariba where they can tell multiple firms, 4 or 5 firms to come and bid. And when it starts, they may say like 2 lakh rupees. And then maybe Rajneesh ke 2 lakh 25,000, Assawa may say 2 lakh 50,000, I may say 2 lakh 75,000. And that way, and then the price goes and closes at a particular, and the lowest bidder gets the get allotment. So there are these bidding softwares also which are being used now. So you don't need to get those 3 quotations. Agar pehla 3 quotation aata tha, koi ne dekh liya. And if I am in the purchase department, I can call up my friend and say, like, see, competition ka quote of 5 lakhs has come, you give a little less. Now those type of things are eliminated because online bidding is going to happen, and everything will be live, and everyone who is bidding will see like who is bidding what. So that is number 1. Let me go to the second vertical, and after this slide, I'll stop and take few of the questions and then move ahead. See, like when we talk about now automation here, and there are chat bots, there are RPA bots, there is enhanced cognitive, like as we call about artificial intelligence or AI. So there are these enhanced cognitives, and you can see those different signs which I've used, and I have shared the slides. So, but once I talk about, then we'll have a little more this time. So I'm saying like say purchase invoices. Now, the moment purchase invoice comes, पहले क्या होता था, like Vodafone set up a large shared service center in Ahmedabad, and there were 23 circles across India. In 23 circles, purchase invoices were coming manually. Then people were punching the purchase invoice. They were looking at the credit period. They were doing the purchase comparison, etc., and all of those. Then Vodafone set up a shared service center in Ahmedabad. Now, every of the 23 circle, if they wanted, like say 5 people for doing purchase accounting, that means 23 into 515. When it was centralized, maybe they needed only 60 people. Now, what happened is the vendors started couriering the invoice to Ahmedabad. Someone would open, they will scan, and through optical character reader, the optical character reader will read the vendor code, and hence vendor code has become important. Now, master, the moment the code is like say R001, you know it is Rajneesh, and the master tells you that Rajneesh is a statutory auditor and he provides the audit service, and hence TDS will have to be deducted under 194J. That is also mentioned in the master, and that is 10%. Okay. Now, what is the due date for payment to Rajneesh? That is also mentioned in the master. Now, if you want to make online payment, RTGS or electronic fund transfer, then his bank details will also be mentioned into the master, and all the details will be picked up from there. Now, invoices started coming, they were scanned on the basis of vendor code, the entry were picked up, and immediately the entry went purchase account debit to creditor. And it also mentioned that for a particular raw material on the basis of the item code, the GST should have been 18%, but the vendor has charged only 12%. So that also those type of discrepancies can come up by scanning the invoice. So accounting is not required to be done on the purchase invoices. The moment invoice is scanned, on the date of the scan, it will go and see in the master 30 days. So like today is 6th of February. 30 days means on 5th of March payment is due. So automatically the payment due date is calculated. When you look at the Vodafone Shared Service Center across India, they've got 1200 bank accounts. All the money from all the bank account goes into one pool account at the end of the day. और कल रात को 12 बजे कितना पेमेंट करना है उतना पैसा, अब पेमेंट फाइल इज जनरेटेड टुडे, इट कम्स टू द टीम, पेमेंट team, the payment team sees the file and says okay, the money is transferred from the pool account to the payment account, and tomorrow night at 12 in the night, the moment like automatically the payments will be credited to the vendor account and debited to Vodafone account. Why? Because the due date is automatically calculated and all the payment like bank account number and XYZ is available in the system. So all of these is possible and it is being done now through the softwares directly. Now, similarly, what can also happen is, assuming there are multiple codes, and I am talking about RPA now, robotic process automation. So like if there are multiple codes which you received from multiple vendors, आपको कोई कंप्यूटर लैपटॉप परचेस करने थे 10 और आपके पास 6 कोटेशन आए, तो 6 कोटेशन को लेके यू विल टाइप कि कितना जीपी है, ये है, वो है, व्हाट इज द लोकेशन, व्हाट इज द this thing transport, whether he will pay or not. Now the bot can read those documents and the bot can populate everything into an Excel and give it to you, and it will become a comparative which you can check and you can start doing your work. And I'll give you one more example of the bot as we proceed ahead. There are a lot more which will come. So that was on the second one, which I said like few of these automation which we talked about. One other thing, GRN, goods received note. GRN people punch in manually on the basis of the delivery challan or the invoice which comes and the material which comes. Abhi, that is also not required to be done. Okay. Automatically through optical character reader or through RPA on the basis of the delivery challan or invoice or on the basis of the barcode which is there on the box or whatever, it can be scanned and all the details can automatically be populated into a GRN. Only what is required is vendor code. So what becomes important is for your client to decide like who is A001, who is A002, B001, R21, R24, what is the vendor. and the vendor puts his code into his delivery challan R21, that means it has come from a certain Ritesh Sharma. Okay, and then automatically it picks up all the details and it can populate and create a GRN. So the masters then become important. Let me go on to a little more. See, all of these softwares automatically also give you कि total purchase कितना है, उसमें which raw material how much, who purchased how much, X, Y, and Z, whether you got discount or not, whether it was spent at multiple location, whether there are different subsidiaries or buying from different people. So if the data is captured, the item code, the service code, the vendor code, lot of analysis can be done, and then you can go on and streamline and say, why not purchase from one vendor instead of purchasing from 3 vendors? Why of the 100 rupees spend, I'm spending 90 with one vendor, and can I divide it into further if there is a delay in procurement or X or Y? So those are type of things which can be done. And even if the software is not competent, how can we take it in Excel or whatever other tools and do it? That also we'll see. I'm sure, see today, a MG Hector, you sit into an MG Hector and say, MG, switch on the air condition, and MG starts the AC. You say, MG, open the roof, it opens the roof. MG, close the roof, it close the roof. MG, why don't you play a music? Similarly, Alexa, play Rafi song and it will start Rafi's song, or Kishore Kumar song and it will start doing a song. So then, can a vendor call up your helpline and give the vendor code? And can the Alexa go chat bot? Alexa is a chat bot. Can the chat bot go inside, open the ledger, and tell the vendor, if the vendor wants to know what was the last purchase invoices, on what date and what is the amount, when was the last payment made, and what is the amount due? Of course, whatever is required, if the data is available, the chat bot can go into that particular ledger code R21, look at the details, read the column invoice number, date, amount, etc., and call out so that the vendor can get the detail, and a person need not spend time explaining to the vendor. I will stop in a minute on this slide now, and then I'll see what is the next slide and then take few questions. But even before that, see, there is a team of 3 young chartered accountants, and while doing statutory audit, we were selecting 30 creditors, 30 debtors, bank balance, and what we were doing is we were giving the debtor's name to the our client, और client को बोलते थे अपने letterhead पे letter print करो कि to so and so, and either put the balance in our book and tell him to confirm, or leave it blank and tell him put the balance from his book. Now, once that letter was made, the client is to put the stamp signature, put the letter into an envelope with the client's address, और वो envelope में हर एक envelope हम लोग डालने को बोलते थे with statutory auditor's address, so that after confirming the balance, the vendor can post the letter to the statutory auditor, and we as auditor can independently check कि client के book में कितना है और उसके customer या supplier के book में कितना है, and whether it is reconciling or not. In COVID, it was not possible to send through post or courier. So this team of young chartered accountants have created a software. The company is called Firmway, and we had printed about them in our newsletter, WRC newsletter, also about 12 months back. So they are giving you, like say, first 100 confirmations free, and then maybe each confirmation for 2 or 3 rupees. So like आप अपने clients के लिए अगर 70 confirmation भेज रहे हो तो आपको 140 रुपये खर्चे करना है, and the confirmation will be sent on mail. The client will reply on mail. If the client gives a ledger in PDF or something, your ledger and the client's ledger can be reconciled. It also does a bill-to-bill reconciliation. It also gives a closing balance breakup. The software does everything. So a lot of work can be reduced if we want to use that software for our audit. So those are so we said, like in a normal procurement, now people can use web crawlers. We can do the purchase invoicing or the GRN preparation through either optical character reader or through an RPA. Payments can be done automatically. Using inbuilt analytics in the software, we can do various analytics. We can use various chatbots, and we can use various other tools and utilities which are available. Okay, before I go ahead, let me stop. Rajni ji, Asawadi, am I okay? The voice, volume, speed, or am I too fast, too slow?
नहीं नहीं मुर्तुजा भाई सब ठीक है. चैट बॉक्स में एक का क्वेश्चन आया है विच यू कैन सी. एक अनिल चिकोड़ी सर का क्वेश्चन है.
What is RPF? Anyone calls the toll-free number with vendor code. What securities are given in that case? Anyone calls the excess other ledger. Okay, fine. Very good.
And एक क्वेश्चन अविनाश प्रताप सिंह का है. Just wanted to know how to integrate the sub store quantity of RM with main store quantity while raising the PO.
Sub store quantity of RM with main store quantity while raising the PO. Okay, perfect. So see, on the sub store and main store, what happens is, like when a goods received note is prepared and assuming a 10,000 quantity is received, then it goes into the main store, okay, in one place, and it goes with a particular code. That raw material comes with a code, like say maybe R231 or R0231, whatever. And then that particular raw material is either in liter or in kgs or in numbers or in whatever boxes or whatever it is. And a boxes of 10, if they will boxes, whatever. So that is there. Now assuming there are multiple factories and you issue from here to the different shop floors in the same premises, then like you will have to activate that feature that like that item is lying. Assuming, like say someone issues to the shop floor and shows us issue, that's it, and there is no record on the shop floor, then you will not be able to do anything, because फिर shop floor में जितना issue कर दिया वो आपका consumption में चला गया, खत्म. और अगर record नहीं है तो you will not be able to take it. Second thing, if the record is manual, then system record of the main store plus you will have to take the register and see how much is lying on the shop floor or the sub store, wherever it is, and add it. But in an ERP, if you create different sub stores, then, and if you transfer from one to another, then with that raw material, whether it is lying at 4 places, you will be able to easily track it because it will be available. Now the question is very, very interesting. And let me tell you, one large organization, and they have got multiple location presence. So they are into like a ports business, and there are like multiple ports across India. And when they purchase a particular belt or a, like say gloves or helmet or safety shoes or X or Y, they buy at different places. लेकिन चैलेंज ये था कि कोई अलग अलग SAP का वर्जन है या अलग अलग लोकेशन की अलग अलग इन्वेंट्री रिकॉर्ड है, and someone said safety shoes को S110 and someone said SH002, then you will not be able to get the total number at one count. And hence what is important is, in one organization, if there are multiple locations, then the standard item code will be very important. And if there are multiple people who are creating vendors or buying different departments, then the unique vendor code is important. So like that, the first step is to create the right type of coding and the master. If that is done, life becomes that much more easy. ये company के पास 100 crore rupees का inventory था, and the promoters and the board was worried, and they gave assignment to us, and we went and checked all the records, inventory records. We did a lot of analytics, और उसमें काफी सारी चीज होती है. स्क्रू होता है, तो स्क्रू वो लोग 13/6 बोलते हैं, 19/6 बोलते हैं, 25/6 बोलते हैं, मतलब पाव इंच, आधा इंच, 1 इंच। अभी उसके अंदर भी दे से लाइक गोल माथा और चपटा माथा अलग अलग रहता है, स्क्रूज. So now they put everything into screw. Now you will not know, okay, like how do you value it, okay, and hence it is important to do that. And when we started looking at, there were multiple items jiska stock itna tha which was not required, and there were a lot of items which had become old and outdated because they did not know that while buying a certain iPhone 13, they had iPhone there, they had iPhone 2, they had something else in the different name. They had iPhone 13, but they could not check from the record like it was lying there, okay, and hence they kept on buying, and the old stock become deteriorated, it has to be scrapped. And when they adopted a common inventory master, etc., and started doing it properly, now today they maintain an inventory of around 40 crore rupees. So like about 60 crore rupees was blocked, and it was also like a lot of space, etc., was being taken. So a lot of those efficiencies can be brought about. That is number one. Number two, coming to Anil ji, your this thing, RPA. Now, see, robotic, and we have slides on RPA, we'll talk about that, but I'm just giving a little because the question came up here. So when we talk about a robotic process automation, RPA, in normal language, they call it bot. And there are 3-4 different type of companies, like say Automation Anywhere or a UiPath or a Blue Prism, who issuing a bot. Now, when I say bot, bot can be two. One is a programming bot and one is a runner bot. Okay. So programming bot के अंदर you, when you buy a programming bot, it will come a little costly. You can do the coding कि क्या करना है, चालू करेंगे तो किधर जाएगा, क्या करेगा, क्या डेटा लेगा, किधर से लाएगा, कैसे कंपेयर करेगा और क्या करेगा. That is one. And then the runner bot will keep on running and doing the work again and again. Now let me make it a little more simpler. So bank reconciliation, and when I go to the RPA slide, I'll spend a little less time. लेकिन क्वेश्चन अभी आ गया तो इसको कर लेते हैं. So when we talk about a bank reconciliation, और समझो 800 लाइन क्या करता है? He takes the bank book, he takes the bank statement, and he compares one by one item on the basis of check number, and then he sees इधर है टिक 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 टिक, इधर है लेकिन नहीं है, डिपॉजिट है लेकिन उसमें बैंक में नहीं दिख रहा है. So then we say check deposited but not cleared, check issued but not presented, and we make different sheet, and then we make a reconciliation. We tally this ledger with this ledger. Now this can be done by a bot. So what happens is, in an RPA bot, you write a command, a program, and the moment you say enter, the bot will go and search. Now there are 2-3 things. Either I say like, okay, go and access. So the bot will go to my tally, put my user ID, password, download my bank book, again exit, log out, go to my bank portal, put my user ID, password, download the bank statement, log out, save both into one folder, and then start doing the comparison. And check issued but not presented in one sheet, check deposited but not cleared, bank charges, and then make a reco and give it to me. At times you may say कि नहीं user ID password नहीं देना है, so then you say कि like किधर से चालू करेगा, तो you go to a folder and you'll get 2 files. So in that case आपको 2 फाइल वो फोल्डर में सेव करना पड़ेगा. तो कमांड दोगे तो जाके वो फोल्डर चेक करेगा. कभी कभी आप ये भी बोल सकते हो टक एंटर and go and see the certain subject line in the email. It will go to your email box, it will say bank book and bank statement for the month of Jan. It will save both the files into a folder and start the work. Now this bank reconciliation, which a article clerk takes 2 days to do 800 line item, can be done by a bot in 58 seconds. And I can show you a live video as well. 58 seconds only. Again, अगर narration में लिखा है SAL और date है 31 January, the bot will again go and say salary for the month of January. If it says SAL and 28 February, it will go and say salary for the month of February. अगर किसी ने narration में खाली OT लिख के छोड़ दिया, it will go and say overtime. So those type of things also the bot can do, and it will prepare a bank reco. So now what happens is, if the bank reco is given to you by a bot automatically, then आपको बैठ के check करने का जरूरत नहीं है एक चीज. आप बैंक रिको से काम चालू करोगे, मोर देन 6 months क्या है, मोर देन 3 months क्या है, उसका रिवर्सल एंट्री हुआ है कि नहीं, so you can do lot more intelligent work. That is what. Now using bot, there is lot of other things which can be done, but let us hold on for some time. I hope I could explain what is a RPA. Okay. Now again, coming to the procurement process. See, in a procurement process, friends, and I am now going towards data analytics, and after data analytics and after maybe RPA or one or two things, I'll again stop, and then we'll go to the next generation tool. So friends, when I break this procurement again into different this thing, एक तो vendor selection, एक ये एक वो, and when I come to the accounts payable, receiving of goods, three-way matching, processing, payment. Okay, tuck. Now, when you do a internal audit also, in internal audit, what do? You take one process and look at the whole process end to end to see what is the risk, what can go wrong, and what are the controls, whether they are automated or whether they are manual, and if there are no controls, then how do you build the control? Similarly, while doing statutory audit भी हमको चेक क्या करना है कि क्लाइंट ने एक्सेस परचेस तो नहीं किया है, सब स्टैंडर्ड मटेरियल है तो उसका राइट ऑफ हुआ है क्या नहीं, अगर वेंडर के पास परचेस नहीं है लेकिन फिर भी पेमेंट हो गया है तो वो दैट इज ऑल. So there are different type of things, okay, which we need to check, and we do a checklist. We select a sample and we do a checklist. Now, of course, when you look at the standard auditing essay, there is an essay on sampling and essay on analytic procedures. When you go to internal audit, there are SIS, standard on internal audit. There is a standard SIA on sampling and analytic procedure. How do we select sample for a statutory audit also? The sample is selected on the basis of frequency of control. If the control is yearly, then you will have to select one sample. जैसे financial closing at the year end. If the control is monthly, bank reconciliation, then minimum 2 and maximum 3. That is what the essay says. If the control is, if the frequency is regular and routine and daily, purchase bill, हर दिन में 10 बार होता है, sale bill, petty cash voucher, bank payment, regular. In that case, minimum 25, maximum 40. If you do more than 40, happy. But if you do less than 25, it can invite disciplinary action on you. Okay. So there are these different sample size which are mentioned in our standards. And now in most of our report, we write that we comply with the standards. Now, also we learned that like the samples are required to be selected on statistical sampling method. So statistical sampling method is that the sample should be representative of the population. And hence, assuming you decide in your firm, अगर आपका CA firm है तो कि क्लाइंट का सेल अगर 5 करोड़ है तो 50 सैंपल लेंगे, क्लाइंट का सेल 5 से 25 करोड़ है तो 100 सैंपल लेंगे. Now in that 100 sample, you may say like 50 judgmental, 50 statistical. Very good. Judgmental means high value, high purchase, regular purchase, same vendor. Someone says कि ये vendor हमारे promoter का पहचान वाला है, commission लेता है, देता है, those type of things. Judgmental. But when you say statistical, if your last number purchase order is 10,000 and you want to select 50, then 10,000 divided by 50, you will get an nth number, which will be maybe 200. Now the first number is 3, second will be 203, 403, 603, 803. And that purchase order, whether it is 1 rupee or 1 crore rupee, you will select. Then you should have a checklist to say purchase order number, date, quantity, rate, whatever it is, and vendor name. Then you have to say purchase bill. Then you have to say whether GRN is prepared. Then you have to say whether payment was made and whether the payment terms was there, whether 3 quotations were there. So you need to check the whole process end to end and document that in your working paper. And that is where the standard essay on documentation and evidence comes into play. Now, while we are doing audit using tools, lot of this work can be saved. Okay. And of course, selection of sample, there are statistical tools which we will talk about. Document management, there are tools or softwares available which we will talk about as we go to that slide on the audit. But while we do analytics, in analytics, there are multiple things which can be done. It can be done in Excel. See, पहला purchase order या पहला purchase requisition. So I think for purchase requisition first and then purchase order. Okay. Can the purchase order be more than the purchase requisition? The answer is no. Can the like GRN quantity exceed the PO quantity? The answer is no. Can you have an invoice first and then the purchase order? The answer is no. And you can get all the dump in Excel and you can compare the data of all this thing and you can check. You can check the quantity and you can do it. But how much can you do in Excel? So there are tools like ACL, Audit Command Language, and IDEA, which helps you in running various data analytics queries in each process, whether it is fixed asset, whether it is order to cash, whether it is procure to pay. Now, in tax audit, we are saying payment cannot be done on a Sunday or a holiday. So 26 January is a holiday. Software knows that anything which is paid on 26 January, 15,000, it will give you. If the software has a calendar, it knows which day is Sunday, any payment on Sunday, it will highlight. If every month there is an electricity payment, and in the month of February, on the 1st also there is electricity payment, and on 5th also there is a payment, so software will tell you 2 payments made during the year in the same month. Every month it should be 1. If there are 2, it will talk about. Now, the moment it comes up, you can go and verify. So what happens is, in analytics, lot of queries will come up, and then you have to see the queries and see whether it is right or wrong. And if it is right, you check the voucher and you move ahead. If it is wrong, then you tell the client to go and pass the accounting entry or maybe get it corrected. So there are those type of things which are there, which will come out. Okay. So splitting of invoices, splitting of purchase order, GRN quantity versus invoice quantity, duplicate vendors, same like vendor Tata Teleservices, TTSL, TTL, but it has got same GST number, it can be picked up. So like with the same GST number, multiple vendors in the database, same PAN number, can you have multiple people, it will get picked up. It can, some of the like analytics tools can also do fuzzy logic. So employee name, surname matching with the vendor name, surname, and trying to see whether an employee or their relatives are vendors or not. So I have listed few of the queries here. One-time supplier. So there are a lot of these queries which can be run using various data analytics softwares and tools. Now, see, data analytics can be done using Power BI and it can be used using Tableau as well. Okay. So there are tools available. There are likes of Power BI. Power BI is very, very powerful. It is worth learning Power BI. If you learn Power BI, it will help you in multiple type of queries and multiple type of graphs and charts and presentations. In internal audit, in doing your analytics in statutory audit, and you can even do a lot of consulting assignments for your clients. Let me go ahead to show you a few more things like, so see like normally purchase order should be in a sequence. लेकिन अगर कोई gap है कि 21 number का purchase order के बाद 23 है, so those gaps can be pulled out automatically. You don't need to manually go and check. Similarly in invoice, similarly in payment, similarly in check, anything. Difference between payment and invoice, we talked about. Small dollar payment. What happens is, from a vendor you purchased 12,520 rupees and you made payment of 12,500. 20 rupees was not paid. So the 20, 50, 70, 200, 300 keeps on collecting. All of a sudden, one day, you see that small payments are being made. Tuck, 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 tuck. Immediately, the software will pick up and it will tell you that why this type of payments are happening. Similarly, on the same invoice number, if 2 payments are made, it will pick up. To the same vendor, 60,000 twice made, it will pick up. So there are these various type of things which you can write queries in an IDEA type of software or an ACL type of software, or you can even use a Power BI or a Tableau. Power BI more powerful and IDEA type of thing. And of course, you can do it in Excel also by using a macro, VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, but macros also like will work on a limited data. So you can do a lot more. But people have started writing queries and selling them as a service. So using an SQL, you do all this coding and keep them ready. And you, like anyone who wants to do audit, they will approach you and they will say, okay, like I will share my client data in a folder, purchase ka data. You tell them what, for running which queries, what column is required, vendor name, amount, PO number, PO date, purchase requisition, and invoice number, and so and so. And the moment they give you the data, you run your queries, which are ready-made, tweak it, run it, and give them the result, and you charge them 5,000 or 10,000 for running a query. So that way, analytics as a service is being run by certain chartered accountants. They have written queries on various processes. The client or the other firms or whatever, they share the data. These guys run the query and they give them the reply. See, here again, how many payments more than 10 lakh rupees stuck? You can check. How many payments of so and so dollars? You can check. Whatever you want to see. For a certain raw material, how many payments? For a certain vendor, how many payments? In quarter one, how much was the purchase? Quarter two, quarter by quarter for last 3 years, you want to compare, you can compare. Which vendor, how much, how many invoices during the year? That also you can check. How many invoices above a particular value? You can check. Okay. Now, vendor with high value payments or vendor with high payments, more than 5 lakh rupees paid to a particular vendor again and again. More than 25 lakhs paid to a vendor again and again. You can pick up that. So while doing a lot of analytics, you can do various analytics. Okay. From a certain vendor, you are not buying. All of a sudden, in 2013 or 12, you started buying. So why you were not buying from this vendor and why are you buying now? Okay. Year wise, more than 50,000, 5 lakh, 5 lakh to 10 lakh. How many vendors are there? Okay. Tuck. Anything that you want. If the data is captured, you can look at various graphs, charts, bar graphs, and you can do it. Okay. Now, when you talk about data analytics, see, IDEA, in India, the IDEA partner is Sama Audit Tool, and the parent is Kachwala Canada. CA Institute, ICAI, has signed a contract or MOU with Kachwala Canada, and they are making the IDEA software available to CA firms at a concessional rate. So we need to give the firm registration number, and we can buy the IDEA software for 50,000 rupees for the first time plus GST, and then every year renewal fee is 10,000. अगर एक बार आपने 50,000 rupees IDEA tool में लेके invest किया, उसके अंदर there are a lot of videos which are available, order to cash, procure to pay, fixed asset, etc., which you can keep on seeing. And there are queries which are written already, like multiple vendors, then same raw material from different vendors, you can run tuck. There are index you can run and you can get the queries and you can look at the analytics, sequence gap, payment on holidays, same amount paid to the vendor in the same month, different things are run. If you want to do the changes or coding yourself, you can do the coding easily, you can learn and you can do the coding. WIRC has also conducted in the last year 2 trainings with IDEA. Either we charged only 500 rupees, and what we did is, like, the IDEA people, the moment if Thana branch wants to do, they can also do. They can talk to the IDEA vendor Sama Audit Tool. Every member who registers pays 500 to Thana branch. Thana branch gives the member's email ID to that Sama tool. They will download their what do you say, the experiment version on your computer, on your hard drive. You can start using it for 1 to 15, 16, 17 days. And then on the 16th or 17th day, a 3 hours training will be conducted by the Sama tool, and they will run various queries on a live data for you. And then again, you can use the software under like another 15 days. So like 30 days free software is available. 3 hours training can be done for as low as 500 rupees by Sama Audit Tool. And then if you like, you buy, otherwise you don't buy, something like that. Okay. So that is on IDEA. Power BI I talked about. And then like there are the likes of SQL which can be done. Okay. So there are various analytics which can be done. Let me move ahead a little to the process mining. And maybe after process mining, I'll cover RPA and then stop. Then we'll go to the audit tools and audit procedure. So there are process mining tools now. And there is something called a Celonis, CELENOIS, Celonis. And all the names are there in the PPT also. Now what Celonis does is, like, you, if your client buys a tool and puts it into the SAP, Oracle, Tally, whatever, and if the client is like in the SAP configured in such a manner, okay, like whenever someone raises a purchase requisition, then it will check the authority metrics, कि वो बंदे के authority limit में है क्या नहीं है. उसके बाद there was a maker checker control, so who was a checker, did he check or not? After that, did the purchase requisition go to a certain person in the purchase department for raising the purchase order? Again, there the limits were checked and a maker checker was done or not. Did anyone not raise the like purchase requisition and do the purchase order directly? Then it will be picked up. If purchase order is not issued and the material is received, it will be picked up. So wherever there is a standard process, the process mining tools will give you for each process a standard process. You can document your process inside and you can even see कि like normal standard क्या होता है और आपकी कंपनी क्या फॉलो कर रही है. लेकिन अगर आपकी कंपनी में आपने डिसाइड किया कि ये प्रोसेस फॉलो करना है और अगर वो नहीं हो रहा है तो ईच एंड एवरी गैप फॉर ईच एंड एवरी इंडिविजुअल ट्रांजैक्शन विल बी रिफ्लेक्टेड. So process mining tools help you in identifying like which process as envisaged is not being followed, where there are gaps, what is going wrong. So like say if there is a purchase order which was issued for 10 lakh rupees by a certain Mr. Uday Bapat in an organization, and all of a sudden there is a change in the purchase order because the earlier it was said no advance, and then the vendor says I want advance of 20%. And if someone else, Shiv Bhagwan Asawa, goes and approves it, can it be approved? We all thought like no, the person who issued the original purchase order should only approve the changes to the purchase order. If someone else approves the changes, then it should be immediately highlighted. So that will come out by way of the process mining tool. If there are certain approvals which are going and getting stuck at a particular level or a person, then also it will be shown. So process mining tool picks up the activity or the transaction, then it says it picks up the date and stamp कि कौन से दिन क्या आइटम हुआ, उसका नेक्स्ट स्टेप कभी हुआ, दोनों के बीच में गैप कितना है, 3 दिन के अंदर पीओ अप्रूव होना था, हुआ कि नहीं, जीआरएन बनना चाहिए था, मटेरियल आने के बाद GRN, when was the material received, when did the quality check happen, and when did the GRN was prepared. So if there are 3 days which are captured in the software, it will give you the detail like it should have been done immediately, but it was done after a gap of 10 days. So whatever data is captured, the process mining tool will pick up everything and give it to you. And if you can see, there are small graphs and charts, but if you can see on the process mining, there are a lot of videos which are available on Celonis website. आपको खाली Google करके Celonis पे जाना है, order to cash, procure to pay, multiple videos are available. You can download, you can see, and you will find out the beauty of it. कि कितना easy है and कितना मतलब ये है, and you can implement all of this with your client. See, in a consulting assignment, you can implement a lot of things. Suggest to your client that this is happening in the world, and why don't you use it? Because your life will become efficient, the gaps will be identified, the risk will be reduced. Okay. Now, how does it help? It helps in like benchmarking the rates and quantities. It like helps in making on-time payment. It helps in doing spend analysis. Again, it is also can be used as an analytics tool. It can also be used in like identifying the standard cost. All of a sudden, if you start buying from a particular vendor, it can come up and it can show you all of those. So, if the material is sent for rework and it does not come back, or it should come back in 7 days, but it comes in 15 days or 20 days, that also can be identified. So there are so many things which can come out by way of process mining tool. Let me go ahead now to RPA. See, in RPA, I have done 3 color combination. Now there are orange, which cannot be automated. Then there is a like different type of blue, and then there is a green. The green, everything can be done using an RPA. Blue, some of them can be done, some cannot be done. In an orange, maybe it is still manual and a human intervention will be required. And again, I am doing it only for a procure to pay process. Now, let me give you one recent example, and I'll give you 2 examples on RPA, which will make very, very clear like how does it help. So like in last year, July, when the COVID first wave was just about like the fear was going out and people have started vaccination. A large insurance company wanted to know, because insurance policy agar bechna hai, to the insurance agents will have to go to people's office or house, and that time the TV news and the newspaper said that like people will not get entry if they are not vaccinated and 2 doses are not completed. So the first priority for that company was to see that each and every employee gets vaccinated. Now, both the doses. They did not know कि किसका हुआ किसका नहीं हुआ. So they started writing to the employees and telling the employees, why don't you send your vaccination certificate to us on mail? The employees send the vaccination certificate. Someone used to open that PDF They used to type in Excel, and there were 10 people who were doing that work day in, day out, because for a ICICI Prudential or Kotak Insurance or a Birla Sun Life, there must be lakhs of agents in India in each and every city. थाना के ऑफिस में 20 लोग होएगा, ठीक है. Similarly, Kalyan, Dombili, Ghatkopar, Kandivali, Borivali, in Mumbai itself there will be thousands of agents. Okay, so there are lakhs of agents across India for each one to track. Now, they approached a consulting firm like us, and what we suggested that everything can be automated, but for that you will have to buy licenses of certain tools or products. And what are these licenses? One, SQL database. SQL is a database. Buy a license of SQL. Then for coding, buy a license of Python. And for RPA, buy a license of automation anyway. So they said, okay, and then we will automate everything. Now, we told the company that from the employee master, we want certain information. Employee number, employee name, whether male or female, location, which department, and all this information, and the mail ID. All this information was plotted into an SQL database. Now, we said you will have to create one mail ID, vaccination@icici.pru.in, and tell all your employees to send mail. Can you just give me 1 minute, please? I'll just. Sorry. So I was saying, now they requested all the employees to send the mail. The moment mail came from Rajneet or Sharma, from the mail ID, it picked up which employee and mapped into the master, which was given in SQL database. Like it has come from so-and-so employee. It opened the PDF, and if you see the PDF, it says vaccination or final vaccination. It also says the date of vaccination. It also had, like, say, it picks up all your Aadhaar card, name, detail, etc. It also picks up whether it is Covishield or Covaxin. And on the basis, the moment it picks up your date of first vaccination, automatically the software calculates, the Python using the coding calculates, like when is it due next. Now, if in the next week 5 people are due, it sends automatically mail to their mail ID saying that like this week Monday it is due, and there is this hospital around you. If the hospital data can also be picked up and put into this thing, it can tell you that. So the RPA, the robotic process automation, opens the file and reads everything and plots it into the database. SQL is a database, and the Python does the coding. Or a Power BI does the coding, and it gives you all the graphs and charts and diagrams. And these graphs and charts and diagrams of like how many people got vaccinated, which department, which location, can come on a mail or on a mobile automatically at every frequent interval, whatever you define. Okay. Similarly, like we mentioned about bank reconciliation, claim processing. Claim processing में क्या होता है? कि a certain salesman, if he goes to Pune, he gets 1,000 rupees. If the sales team leader goes, he gets 2,000 rupees, and if a VP goes, 5,000 rupees. पॉलिसी में लिखा है कितना मिलेगा. क्लेम आया, क्लेम को पीडीएफ से रीड करेगा, उसका कोड देखेगा, उसका कौन सा लेवल है वो देखेगा, और उसको कितना पैसा मिलना चाहिए, उसने कितना क्लेम किया है. लॉन्ड्री का पैसा अलाउड है कि नहीं अलाउड है, टेलीफोन अलाउड है कि नहीं अलाउड है. अगर पॉलिसी में लिखा है प्रॉपरली, and if you put that into the software, then it has to just open the PDF, Word, whatever, Excel, and read it, and then make sense and compare with the policy, and then see whether it is okay or not and process the claim. So claim processing, payroll processing, invoice processing, multiple those type of things which are routine in nature can be done using an RPA, robotic process automation. Now, let me come to this slide in a minute. Like talking to vendor and identifying, that cannot be done by a bot. Okay. Now, building relationship or like building equation, friendship, bot cannot do it. But yes, of course, bot can like compare, measure, make tables, do variation, do equation, scan invoices, pick up everything, prepare a master, do a comparative. So a lot of things can be done by RPA, robotic process automation, using this. Okay. I think I may run a little slow, but in any case, so like I think up till now, I will just summarize. What I tried to do is try to cover a procure to pay process using automated softwares like SAP, Oracle. We even tried to see like what can be done in a software, what cannot be done in a software, what cannot be done in a software. If I run to do a sample, if I want to do an analytics, if I want to create documentation, I can use an Excel, I can use an IDEA or ACL type of tool, I can use a Power BI, I can use a Tableau, I can even use a Python and do the coding, I can even give analytics as a service. We talked about web crawlers, we talked about chat bots, we talked about OCR and RPA technology, we even talked about process mining tools and Celonis type of thing. I think that is what we covered till now. Any questions up till now? Otherwise, we go on to this slide where there are audit methodology, and then we'll again stop after this. Whether through IDEA, GST reconciliation can also be done. Data analytics is a course by itself. ACL and I can run on any accounting software like Tally or ERP. Download bank statements are not format compatible, readable. How these chatbots and other softwares you mentioned can be procured. See, whenever you want to run any analytics anywhere, and I'm making some general from the basis of the comments, and then we'll cover some specific comments, questions as well. So normally, I will have to decide what I want to do. Okay. Now, if I say I want to check in sales, how much sales is made to which customer, which are my highest customers. Then I also want to see whether what is the credit period given to my customer and how many days he makes the payment. I want to see how much discount was given, if there was a volume discount, whether it was correctly calculated. So what do I want to focus on? And accordingly, whether it is SAP or Oracle or Tally, I will have to find out which data is sitting where and get the data into a particular format. Okay, I want, this is a table, up to 5 crore rupees sale, no discount, 5 to 6 crores, 5%, 6 crores to 10 crores, 10%. For a large category data, a customer sitting in Delhi on XYZ city, tuck. Once you have the table of your policy ready, then you get the data from the vendor master. You get the data, it will compare with the policy, it will tell you what should be the actual discount and whether that discount which you gave was correct or wrong. Okay. So it is all about understanding what you want to compare with what, put a format, then it is whatever software, wherever the data needs to come into that format. If the data is missing, then no comparison can happen. Okay. If there are 10,000 line items and for 500 line items, the data is not there, then only for 9,500 a comparison will happen. And if you want to compare this with that, and if a certain thing is not available, then no comparison will be possible. Okay. So that is what I like. Maybe I'll try to answer that one question that way. Okay. Using IDEA, can you do GST reconciliation? Yes, anything. 1 with 2A, 2A with 3B. It is like comparison data, which vendors, what code, which GST number, how much did he upload, how much did you get, input, credit, all of those. So you need to decide what you want to compare. And IDEA can do anything. IDEA, there are some inbuilt queries readily there, and you can learn the coding. It is very easy to learn IDEA coding. Okay. And the IDEA team also supports as well in writing some of the queries. Okay. Data analytics is a course we'll see. ACL IDEA can run on any accounting software, which I answered. Download bank book, bank statement. Again, I said we need to put into a particular format. Okay. And see PDF can also be now converted into Excel or this thing. Okay. And the chat bots can read PDF also. See, an OCR or RPA, only if there is an overwriting, it may not be able to read it. And it will go into a suspense or cockpit where someone will have to go and manually do it. So I was talking about the Vodafone Share Service Center. They started by getting the invoices. Everyone, all vendors used to courier the invoices to Ahmedabad. Now, kya hua like Tamil Nadu mein, the letterhead was in Tamil language. In Ahmedabad, people sitting there did not understand how to read Tamil or Kannada or X or Y. So then they said, this is A4 invoice, your number should be here, this should be here, this should be here. and everything in English if you want to deal with us. Once it came in a standard format, the OCR or the RPA knows which data to be picked up from where. On the basis of that, it populates, it checks, and it processes the invoice. So it needs to be standardized and data needs to be given in a certain format, and then the processing will keep on happening. Okay. The moment we want to automate. Let me move ahead a little, and then again in the end we'll stop and we'll compare. Like we'll again answer a few questions. Okay. So this one quickly. What is the master data? Again, the bank, the vendor code, the customer, etc. What is the transaction? The transaction is like a certain invoice being processed, but which vendor? Okay. So that comparison. So like transaction data and the master data becomes very, very important. Masters need to be created. अगर exchange loss gain का calculation software ने करना है, so then every day का exchange rate has to be there. If your sale and purchase is in yen, then Japanese yen detail will have to be there. If your sale and purchase is in UK dollar, it will be required. If it is in US dollar, it will be required. Pounds or dollars, it will be required. Now, daily data is there in one table or master. Now, you say, okay, like you purchase on 10th of March, on 31st March, payment is not made. Then check the 31st March rate, multiply by the number of dollars which is there in the invoice and get a value and the purchase value and compare, and the difference is action loss gain. That coding you do, then that will happen. So the transaction is that invoice and the transaction is your 31st March. And then your formula or your coding or your software or a query, whatever you call, will read and will calculate and it will automatically. Now, once the calculation is done, then you can also say that the entry should be action loss account debit to vendor, and it will pass the automatic entry, and it will say go to action loss ledger and so it will go and push the entry into your accounting software as well. So the masters become important, and then the transaction. See, the growth in computing power, the speed, okay, distributed computing. So many people logging into a software from multiple places. Then again, sharing of information. It can go on a mobile, it can go on a computer, it can go to X or Y, it can go to someone sitting in Dubai or Kuwait or wherever. It can be today also. I'm using a laptop, someone is using a mobile, someone is using this thing. Everyone has got a different, iPhone has got a different software, and IBM has got a different software, and like Lenovo has got a different software. So different hardware, different software. It is such a difficult world which is getting. And with that also to do everything, I think it becomes like really very easy if you know the software properly. Okay. Today, you don't know like who is your competition for an Ola and Uber. Okay. Like they don't own cabs. Okay. Oyo Room does not have hotels. And Taj Mahal property, they've invested hundreds of crores of rupees in like their own building. But then someone without a building or without having a like one room also on their balance sheet are competing with them and giving them tough times and sleepless nights. So that is what it is. It is a changing world. Let me look at quickly like the whole audit process now, because we wanted to look at the audit and then like look at the various tools or software which are available. Okay. So the first one is, while doing your statutory audit also, whether we are doing a tax audit or whether we are doing a company audit or whether we are doing a GST audit or whether we're doing an internal audit or whether we're doing a consulting assignment, what is important is like what is the industry. If it is a real estate construction client, then the GST law, the RERA law, what can go wrong, where can be penalties, what can be the risk. Okay, how much steel, how much cement, how much this, how much that. Now, if you're doing statutory audit, you may not be bothered. But while you are doing an internal audit or project audit, then you may want to see like what is the cost of per square feet, how much steel, how much cement, whether it is gone or not. And if that much steel is not used, that means the quality is substandard and X and Y and Z. So like there are various risks. So now in each business, whether it is manufacturing, whether it is pharma, whether it is hospital, whether it is a hotel, or whether it is a restaurant. In a restaurant, buying of perishable items, fruit, vegetable, etc., it can go wasted. Saturday, Sunday, you buy more. Sunday, if there is no footfall, if the customers are not there, then maybe it does not last till the next weekend, or you need to keep in a fridge, and whether it can get spoiled, and X and Y. So, breaking of these businesses into various processes, sub-processes, and activities, And then in each of this activity, what is the risk? And again, quantifying that risk on the basis of impact and likelihood. So there are risk heat maps available, there are risk qualification tools available, and there are social intelligence tools like petrol pump पे कैश कलेक्शन होता है तो उसमें कैश के अंदर शॉर्टेज का चांस है, रिटेल स्टोर के अंदर शॉर्टेज का चांस है, जूते के दुकान में जूता नहीं चोरी होगा लेकिन पॉलिश या ब्रश चोरी होने का चांस है. So what is happening in which industry, what are those risks which have been happening, those also on the basis of the social intelligence, on the basis of what is happening year after year, those are also captured in certain tools. And once these tools are bought, if your client information is put inside, and for your client, what is material, materiality, impact, and the likelihood of happening, when it will happen, if you put, you can even get like in your client, which item is high risk, which item is medium risk, which item is low risk, which activity you should focus on, which process you should focus on, whether you want to look at sales in India, whether you want to look at sales in South Africa, whether you want to look at sales in Middle East, whether you want to look at institutional sales or B2C customer sales, different type of things you can plot inside for that particular business. Those things are available, and immediately you will know where to focus on while doing your audit or while doing the consulting assignment. Let me go on to again the planning and sampling. So when I talk about planning and sampling, there are tools available where, and even IDEA does it. So like the moment you have an ACL does it. So the moment you have all your purchases, purchase order number, date, quantity, etc., and up to the payment, you put it into a particular format, and you say you want to select of the 10,000, 100 items of statistical sampling method. On its own, statistical sampling will be done, and it will tell you these are the POs which are selected, which you need to verify as part of the audit. And for those purchase order, all the details can even be picked up and given to you in Excel. So your checklist is ready. Now you need to just go and check the physical vouchers and tick, 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 instead of making this thing. Okay. So that is where it is. OCR by scanner, we talked about OCR by scanning, GNR, goods received note on the basis of the delivery challan, etc. Purchase invoices scanning and doing the purchase accounting, that also we talked about. So all of those. 100% population testing, we talked about using various data analytics tools. Okay. Checking this, checking payments on Sunday, checking our small dollar payment, checking payment to a vendor with whom you are not doing a purchases, like on the same month too. So a lot of those analytics tools will help you in doing the 100% population checking. Let me go to process mining. Now, when you talk about process mining, you talk about end-to-end process verification. And that is where the process mining tool helps you, which we talked about. Now, there are voice analytics tools. So like if there is a call center, see in a call center, there are 1,000 assuming call center agents who are working day and night in 3 shifts. Now, उसने कॉल पे क्या बोला, उसने सही चीज बोला कि नहीं, उसको डिस्काउंट नहीं देना था, उसने कस्टमर को दे मतलब बोल दिया या कुछ कमिट कर दिया है. How will you know? So if someone has to listen to all the calls, then you will need 1,000 auditors. So what happens is there are these tools, voice recognition tools, which helps you in like saying, okay, what is the tone? What is the tone of the person? Now, whether the person starts with good morning, good evening, how does he greet? Does he use a cuss word? So cuss words could be put inside. Does he start shouting? So that can be captured. So this software will capture those type of things and it will give it to the auditor, and the auditor will listen to only those calls. So these are voice analysis software, and there is a like of Kira, etc., which are there. Okay. Virtual inspection are drones. I am sure you were watching television while the COVID happened. And in Dharavi, particularly if you saw the news that time, Dharavi is like a big slum which is there inside. And the police could not go inside the slum because they were also worried that COVID unko pakad lega, bahut sara COVID tha udhar andar. Okay. Many people were affected, and police thought like if they go inside, they can also fall ill. But they wanted to see whether people are sitting in their house or not, whether they are sitting outside and talking to each other, whether they are maintaining social distancing or not. So what did the police do? The police used drones, and the drones went inside and took photographs and came out. And then the police found out that children were playing cricket inside. And then they went into that particular lane and they stopped the children who were playing and told them, go inside and sit into your house and maintain social distancing. So where do you go and focus and what do you do? Now today drones are even used for doing physical verification of inventory. So like a drone can go into a warehouse, it can go into a rack, it can click the barcodes also. If you put the barcode reader, then it can read the barcode and it can tell you that like which item, how many boxes, and within the box, how many items were there. Now then it can be populated into Excel sheet where you will have a physical like book stock. Against the book stock, whatever drone reads can be populated. You can compare and then you will know okay, like what is the physical stock. So maybe like all of those where there are large items are picked up, maybe some of the open like loose items will have to be counted by someone on the shop floor. Now similarly, a drone is also being used. Just like when you extract minerals, etc. from inside. So drones also come with a laser beam and they can be used into a mountainous terrain or something where they'll go and put the laser beam inside and they will tell you like udhar oil hai kya nahi hai, and whether there is coal or not, and whether there is a particular mineral or not. So drones are being used extensively and they can be used also. One client is a real estate construction client. One was a manufacturing company and the manufacturing company wanted to do a health and safety audit. So plant के अंदर बारिश के सीजन में like there is grass and all. So there could be snakes and the snakes could bite the employees and hence the company gives gumboot. Whether the employee is wearing gumboot and going inside or not. While being in factory, they have to wear helmet. Whether the employees are wearing helmet or not, photographs can be taken. While doing welding, they have to wear welding glasses. Whether they are using welding glasses or not, photographs can be taken. Similarly, in a real estate construction site, अगर कोई बंदा नीचे आ रहा है कलर करने के लिए बाहर से काम करने के लिए सॉफ्ट पहनता है कि नहीं है, हेलमेट पहनता है कि नहीं है, photos can be taken. So multiple of those type of things can be done using drone. Okay. Now there is something called as Google glasses also, and some organizations have started using. I at least know one of them, Honeywell in Pune, and Honeywell globally is using, although India may not be using. So if there is someone on the shop floor, that guy will wear a Google glass. He will go and stand in front of the rack. The Google glass will read whatever is there on the box and the barcode, etc. And that can be downloaded into your Excel in your computer, even if you're sitting some 10,000 miles away. And then you can start seeing, अच्छा ये physically है, ये है, ये है, start comparing and doing a book stock versus physical stock. So in COVID also to do stock verification, some of these innovations have happened and people have started using it. Let me go ahead a little. Of course, we talked about analytics as a service. Now there is something called as continuous control monitoring. In an internal audit assignment, a internal auditor goes maybe do the procure to pay audit once in 2 years or once in 3 years. हर साल तो नहीं करता है. There are 40 items which can be audited. Now you go and do 10 audits in a year. You may not do procure to pay this year. But what is the rate at which the purchase was made from a certain vendor? Is there any other vendor in the database who is doing for a lesser cost? Why did you buy at a higher price? Why did you purchase last time for a sale of 10,000 units? You purchased 8,000 kgs. Now for 8,000 kgs, why did you purchase 8,000 kgs this year? Some comparison is required for the operations team, for the manager, for the productions team, for the CEO, for the CFO. All of those can be queries can be written either in Excel, using a macro, using a Power BI, using a Python, or using an IDEA or ACL. And these queries can be run on an automatic on a daily basis. And whatever exception keeps on coming, they can keep on correcting. A statutory auditor is not required to point out the mistakes. The operations team can keep on making corrections of their mistake on the regular basis. Dynamic dashboards, we've seen certain of those, okay, like small value payment, multiple payments, vendor and this thing, how much purchase from a vendor, different countries, different location, how many purchases from the same vendor. And we talked about using a Power BI or using anything else, using even a process mining tool. Okay, so a lot of these dynamic dashboards, different type of this thing can be done. There are some tools for writing reports also, like in creditors, SSI and non-SSI, data is more than 6 months and less than 6 months, more than 1 year, bad date hai kya nahi. So you put everything into a format, into an Excel or put into a software, like my total sale was 10 crore rupees, my data are 6 crore rupees, and and my data is more than 6 months are 3 crore rupees, and my data is more than 2 years are like so much, and more than 1 year are so much. This software has got ready-made work template, and they will write a report for you, and then you will have to make corrections. Different templates for different processes are available, and it will say the total sale of the company for the year so and so was so much, 10 crore rupees, of which the data are 6 crore rupees, which is too high. And of this 6 crore rupees data, 3 crores are more than 6 months, which also is 50%, which is very high because the last 6 months sale was only so much. And then against that, like more than 2 years is so much, but more than 1 year provision was required and provision has not been made. The English will be ready. So in internal audit, in a procure to pay, different organizations across globe would have written different type of observations or reports. These are captured, templates are created, some information needs to be put in, and it will give you something in English in a proper form, and then you'll need to make correction. Okay. There are certain other softwares like a Kira, and Kira is like a document like analytics software. So like say if you are using a statutory audit report this year in 2022 and 21, so what happens is your guy, the article clerk or your staff, copies it, pastes it, change the date and gives it to you. अगर आपको आपने सॉफ्टवेयर में दोनों डॉक्यूमेंट लगा दिया और कंपेयर कर लिया तो इमीडिएटली यू विल बी एबल टू फाइंड आउट व्हाट आर द चेंजेस फ्रॉम लास्ट ईयर टू करंट ईयर. Okay. Similarly, like in a large organization, your client appoints the advocate and has a standard agreement template. कि like अभी जो भी वेंडर आएगा परचेज के लिए, सेल के लिए, सर्विस के लिए, उसके साथ यही टेम्पलेट यूज करेंगे. Now, if there are 20 agreements which are entered during the year, you can put this template, you can put that agreement ka PDF copy, Word copy, and this will compare both and tell you what are the variation of the standard. So any document which you want to check, anything that you want to mark, if an agreement is like say 100 pages and you just want to find out arbitration, you put the word arbitration, it will go and pull out the paragraph and give it to you, kidhar arbitration word used hua hai. You say court of law, it will pick up those paragraphs, highlight and give it to you. So there are those type of softwares as well. Sorry, Kira is here. So I thought it was not there. So I had gone back. So it is also here. So these are various softwares on process mining. There is Celonis, there is PathNow, there is Rockstar. When you talk about like say RPA, there is UiPath, there is Automation Anywhere, there is Blue Prism, and there are few more which are coming up. And there is Tableau and Power BI and X and Y. So all of these are there. Okay. You can pick up any 1, 2, 3 things you can learn. You can do a small course on it and you can do it. Even before I go ahead, see, WIRC is also conducting one course on analytics and it is into 3 parts. Part 1, 50 hours, 8,000 rupees. And that is on data analytics, and we are teaching SQL and Python. So how to use a database solution and how to do the coding and how to create graphs and charts. Okay. And there is an organization called SDCA. The course is like on Friday 6 to 8, Saturday 6 to 8, Sunday 10 to 12, 6 hours, 7 hours every week. They give you a lot of data. They download the software on your computer and you have to do the working on it. जो procure to pay, order to cash का डेटा दिया उस पर आपने काम किया, उसके बाद पूरा वीक में आपको जीएसटी पे करना है, बैंक कैलकुलेशन करना है, डेपोजिशन कैलकुलेशन करना है, कोडिंग करो. अटक गया तो उनको क्वेरी लिख दो व्हाट्सएप के ऊपर या चैट बॉट के ऊपर, दे विल रिप्लाई बैक टू यू. ऑन द नेक्स्ट वीकेंड यू कैन आस्क देम कि ये मैं कर रहा था, इसको कैसे करना है, दे विल हेल्प यू. सो यू लर्न एंड देन यू स्टार्ट यूजिंग इट. Part 1. Part 2, we are using Power BI and Tableau for presentations, etc., and various templates and graphs and diagrams. And part 3, we are teaching RPA and OCR technology, like how you can do automation assignments for your client. Part 1, 50 hours, part 2, 40 hours, part 3, 60 hours, 150 hours, 9,000, 5,000, 8 or 9,000, something like that, 24-25,000 rupees, which like maybe easily you'll spend about ₹1 lakh outside. When we launched the batch of 30 only, the first batch was full within 2 days, second batch, third batch, fourth batch. I think now the 5th batch is going on for part 1. and part 2 का second या third batch चल रहा है और part 3 का first batch चल रहा है. So if you want to do it, you can go on WRD website, see it, and you can also join the course if you want to. Let me complete this slide and then wait and take your queries again. So when we were talking about audit, and when I talk about an audit end to end, or when I talk about a consulting assignment, when I talk about anything, okay, when I go from left to right, left के अंदर सबसे पहला is what is the software that your client is using, whether it is Tally, Zoho, SAP, Oracle, etc. Client का एक system नहीं होता है, warehouse के लिए अलग है, billing के लिए अलग है, customer के लिए कुछ अलग है, credit के लिए कुछ अलग है. So the multiple client may have multiple systems. They may be working for a large company and they may be accessing the company's software as well. So all of those software become your this thing, a starting point. If the client wants you to do some analysis and pick up data from a Google or this or that, you can do that as well. Okay, from the public domain, whatever data, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, you can give that and you can pick the data from there also. Spending habit, etc., etc. Okay, one. Second, how to extract the data? क्या चाहिए, क्या check करना है, उसके basis पे क्या निकालना है. And the extraction of the data can be done using RPA bot. You tell the bot, okay, like so and so data from so and so table has to be pulled out. So and so master, so and so table, so and so transactions to pulled out. The RPA at every frequency, every day 12 in the night, every Saturday morning 10 in the night, you tell it and it will go and it will extract that data and put it into a folder. Now once that data comes into a folder, then there will be those analytic tools which will do the analysis. Okay, like whether all the sequence is complete, whether everywhere the vendor master is there, whether the same vendor number is not repeating twice, whether the amount is there, whether the bank detail is there, payment, GST number, 2 GST number, not all of those quality check and quality profiling of data will happen. That is the third box. Then only you go to the fourth box, that is checking the whole process end to end, the process mining and finding the process gaps, or doing data analytics and finding various analytics and various gaps and various risks and various things which are going wrong. And once that happens, then you go to a Power BI and Tableau to prepare a proper dashboards report which can be sent on mail or on restaurants. And then there are these report writing tools which can help you in putting the report in English. And the bots, the RPA can be used in multiple places, extracting the data, comparing with something, reading the documents, putting into a format, doing some analytics. Anywhere the RPA can fit in, it can also do a lot of stuff. Generally, when you are doing a consulting assignment, I'll stop in 5-10 minutes, but I have time, we can wait, we can take the questions, don't worry at all. When you tell your client, sab badal dalunga, don't do that. Take one process, find out what the client is doing, what is the client's appetite, what can be done, make the corrections, change it, bring about efficiency. They will be happy. Do the second process, third process, fourth process, fifth process. And once you get into automation, digitalization, analytics, RPA, no end to it. और एक बार अगर फार्मा क्लाइंट में एक जगह पे कर दिया, एक फार्मा कंपनी के वेयरहाउस या डेपो में कुछ कर दिया, you can keep on doing in multiple places. You do it in one restaurant, you can go to multiple. You do it in one cinema chain and you can go to the multiple cinema chains and do the same thing. Okay. There are different type of things which can be done. So that is where it is. Now, see, in consulting, what is important is keeping on reading, keeping on learning, and then trying to see how we can use it. Let me give one example and then stop. One of my clients, a large conglomerate in India, and when I used to go physically, 2 saal pehla, when we used to go to their premises, so there was a large waiting area where you had to go and make the gate pass. If I wanted to meet someone, he had to send me a WhatsApp and create in the system a unique code for me, visitor code. Then when जब भी मैं उधर जाता था, 6 काउंटर थे, 6 काउंटर में 15-20 लोग खड़े रहते थे और 100-200 लोग बैठे हुए रहते थे. Then you stand in the queue, and after 20 minutes, your number comes, and then the lady says, okay, give me your visitor code. And you give the visitor code, she puts in the system. Then she says, okay, you are meeting so and so. Yes. Okay, give me your mobile number. You give the mobile number. Then she says, okay, fine. Show me your ID. You show the ID, and then she gives you a pass. Then she says, car. Do you have a car? Yes. Give your car number. Give the car number. Give the driver number, and she makes a pass for the car. And then I come out. So if I was spending half an hour or 45 minutes, and there are 200 people who are spending 45 minutes, such a criminal waste of time. I went to another multinational client, and there was a kiosk machine, and the kiosk first asked my mobile number. I put it inside. It asked some other security, my date of birth or whatever. I put it inside, and 2-3 questions which I put, and then scanned my retina. It took my thumb impression, and immediately on the basis of my mobile, it checked like whether there was a invitation for me or not, and the pass was printed. And the moment pass was printed, I took it. I went to the entry system, scanned it, and went inside. And I went to my visitor. When I came back, I had to exit. So I had to put that pass into a slot. The machine will absorb it, and I'll be out, so that I cannot use it again. I cannot go back inside. Next time when I went, I had to just put my mobile number. It checked into the system whether there was an invitation, and it put my thumb or retina, and it issued a pass to me, and did not ask me any question. My car number was also there, and it only on the screen said whether you want a car pass, and I said yes, and it printed one more pass for me. So which one is efficient? Now the thing is, you need to keep on learning, keep your eyes and ears open, and keep on talking these type of stories to your client. The client will say, okay, do it for me. Then you should know which hardware, which software, how to implement. And there are enough of IT companies and enough of coders who will do the coding. The chartered accountant only has to use the brain ke kidhar kya karne ka, and it is like running into like huge, massive assignments. And the data analytics, the automation assignments run from a few lakhs to few crores, and people are spending crores and crores and crores of rupees. Okay. And maybe we are just spending, filing returns 200 and 300 rupees. Okay. And maybe at 10 lakh rupees a year. So time to change, time to reskill, and are we ready to face the future with confidence? That is the question I would want to leave with. Happy to take the questions. Asavaji,
Murtuza bhai, there are a couple of questions in chat box. If you can go through.
okay. So from the last one, Anilji, what is the name of the website for the course? A WRC website. It is available, and you can even write to wrc@ici.in, and immediately they will respond back to you with the detail. And it is Mrs. Kapoor only who does it. Okay. Creditors with debit balance, Chinese, English. Sorry, I did not understand that, but maybe something went wrong. Future is here. Science fiction, no, it is fact. And people are using this tool, so don't worry. And there are lots and lots of them. And you need to walk into the Vodafone Share Service Center at Karadi. 20,000 people are working there, and all of this is being used. Adani Share Service Center in Ahmedabad uses 200 bots. And like so many things are being done by the bots. Okay. So bots are used big time. And I can tell you one example from a recent media company. देखो एक क्या होता है, एक मीडिया प्लेयर है, अभी उसकी मल्टीपल चैनल चल रही है, उसके ऊपर कौन बनेगा करोड़पति भी है, वर्ल्ड कप मैच भी है, ये भी है, और सास बहू का सीरियल भी है. And a Patanjali wants to place an advertisement. The Patanjali may approach the media company directly. It may approach through like Hindustan Unilever type, or it could approach through an agent. And so many orders keep on coming for advertisement. And they may say that I want to take a prime spot. And prime spot in Kaun Banega Crorepati mein 10 seconds can be 1 lakh rupees. And in a Saas Bahu serial, 1 minute can be 10,000 rupees. Okay. So you say so many prime, so many unprime, so many afternoon, so many morning. And all of those needs to be slotted into the slotting machine. Then only the advertisement will be playing on that time. Now this slotting was being done by 18 people in that organization. Then we implemented RPA. Now all the documents, whether it is Word or Excel or everything, has to go into one folder, and the bot reads everything and slots everything. Once the slotting is done, there are only 3 people required to see whether the slotting is properly done, and something gets stuck into the suspense, go and verify it. So boss, this is all reality. People are using it again and again. Okay. So that is where we are. Data mining will have to be evaluated for cost benefit analysis. Works for huge data. Not really. See an idea. And I'm saying, like, say, I'm just throwing a wild idea since you said this. Assuming Thana branch buys one idea software and puts up a desktop in their office. Desktop or idea software का खर्चा थाना branch ने कर दिया ₹1,00,000. Now member have to write a mail to a certain mail ID and say, I want to block 11 to 12. And for that 1 hour, pay ₹1,000 or whatever it is. Come, bring your data in a pen drive or whatever. Do the analytics on idea. Take your queries and go back. Someone else comes and does it, and the branch either does this free for the member or charges something. So it is not costly at all. Okay, 4 firms can together buy can buy an idea software if 50,000 is costly. So that is where it is. Asavaji, I think जो अंदर था वो तो मैंने कर दिया. Anything else?
नहीं, अभी just एक प्रदीप पाटिल सर का क्वेश्चन है. Is there any software or way that can extract PDF copies of invoices received at a single email ID?
Sir, RPA bot does it. Na? Any PDF which comes into a mail ID or into a particular folder, RPA bot will extract, it will open, it will read everything, and it will populate into Excel, whatever, wherever, whatever. all bots, all RPA does it.
Now I request all the participants, you can unmute yourself and ask question. I think that will be more important. At least you can have face-to-face interaction over Zoom. Any participant wanted to ask any question?
See, while the questions come in also, we covered a lot of different type of tools, but the intention was to showcase there are multiple things, or someone may want to just use Power BI. Someone may want to maybe go and do specialization in RPA, and that way. So that is the reason I brought multiple things to table. And if you want, Asavaji and Rajesh, we can do detailed courses on a particular thing also. Khali analytics for 1 hour, we can get the speaker on RPA live. We can do like bank reco kaise hota hai. They can show the live demo. Okay, click, get the bank book, get the bank statement, how the bot runs, wait for that 1 or 2 minutes, see the result and show it. So that also can be done physically also, virtually also. So we can do a lot more in detail if there is an interest wherever, whatever. Yeah.
Yes, that's right, sir.
And if there is no question, then I can request CA Rajnish Sharma to formally propose vote of thanks. Unmute yourself, Rajnish. Unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, is there any other question? Anyone would like to clarify? Okay, I believe the questions have been answered by Murtuza sir. Murtuza sir, thank you so much for taking time, from your busy schedule and speaking upon this topic of new generation audit tools and techniques. And certainly, we need to be updated about these techniques as well as implement as far as possible during the, our assignments. And as you said, sir, we will surely take further sessions, possibly, personal sessions or, offline, so that people can understand in a better way. And that's all from my end, sir. Thank you so much on behalf of Thane branch and on behalf of all the participants as well. Thank you to you and to Thane branch staff also, sir. Thank you so much.
And see you tomorrow at 9 a.m.
Yes, sir, please.
Yes.
Thanks
a lot. Thank you. Thanks to everyone. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. If now if there is no question, I think there is no question. I can request Rupa, can you end the session?
Yes, sir.